Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into an absolutely massive scientific study to uncover the reality of feline behavior. We want to know what actually makes your cat tick. You know, if you share your home with a cat, you already know they've got these huge, distinct personalities. But today, we're looking at the hard science behind those behaviors to truly understand the real cats living right there in our living rooms.
Have you ever just looked at your furry friend and wondered, what on earth is actually going on inside your head? Well, to answer that, scientists are finally throwing out those old myths and looking at robust, real-world data from everyday pet owners. For the longest time, cat behavior was just written off, right? People thought they were totally unpredictable or just plain mysterious. But researchers from the University of Helsinki decided to look a bit closer. They wanted to see if there's a real, structured matrix underlying how our feline companions experience the world.
Feline personality, inter-individual differences in behavior which are stable over time and in distinct contexts. So, what does this actually mean? The crucial point here is that personality in domestic cats isn't just some quirky thing we humans project onto them. It represents measurable, stable behavioral differences that are actually influenced by their genetics and their environment. Just like us, a cat's personality means they're going to predictably react to distinct situations in consistent ways. Understanding this completely shifts our perspective. We go from just reacting to our pets to actually anticipating their needs. It's a real game changer.
Surveying real cats. To truly map out these stable traits, the research team knew they needed a massive amount of real-world data. I mean, instead of just observing a handful of cats in some stiff, unnatural laboratory setting, they went big. They built this extensive 138-statement online questionnaire. And this ambitious approach let them tap into the accumulated day-to-day knowledge of the absolute best experts out there, the owners themselves.
4,316. This number brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of the study. They captured behavioral data from exactly 4,316 real cats across 56 different breeds. Honestly, that is a huge sample size. By gathering insights on thousands of cats, we're talking everything from fancy pedigreed show cats to your everyday, lovable mixed-breed house cats. The researchers were able to build an incredibly robust data set to work with. Now, what's really interesting here is how researchers handled all that data. To ensure bulletproof reliability, they didn't just accept every single submission that came through. Nope, they meticulously filtered the initial dataset of nearly 4,500 cats, rigorously tossing out entries with incomplete data, unverified ages, or missing info. This strict scientific hygiene guarantees that the personality profiles we're about to dive into are built on a rock-solid, highly reliable foundation. The 7 feline traits. Let's move to the real core of the study. Through advanced statistical modeling, which is basically just a fancy way of saying they looked for hidden patterns in behavior, researchers took those 138 statements and distilled the absolute chaos of everyday behavior into a clear, understandable matrix. They looked at things like, hey, if a cat hisses at strangers, do they also hide from loud noises? Doing this allowed them to narrow everything down to a specific, manageable framework. Number 1, fearfulness. 2, activity or playfulness. 3, aggression toward humans. 4, sociability toward humans. 5, sociability toward cats. 6, excessive grooming. And 7, litter box issues. The data revealed these 7 distinct traits that make up the feline mind. And honestly, it proves that real cats are way more complex than those simple stereotypes suggest. We've got core dimensions like fearfulness and activity, but also highly specific social traits, like how they react to us versus how they react to other cats. Plus, they identified 2 major behavioral stress indicators, excessive grooming and litter box issues. Literally every real cat lands somewhere on the spectrum of these 7 traits. Breed behavior differences. Okay, so how do these traits actually play out in the real world? Well, while every cat is definitely an individual, the researchers found statistically significant differences in all 7 of those traits depending on a cat's breed. This points super strongly to a genetic baseline for how cats interact with their environment. Let's look at some fascinating profiles. Most fearful, Russian blue, versus the least fearful, Abyssinian. When we look at the fearfulness trait, the data shows the Russian blue scoring the absolute highest, which is in stark contrast to the highly confident Abyssinian. The Russian blue is far more likely to be naturally cautious, maybe hiding when the doorbell rings or completely freezing up at the vet. But on the very other end of the spectrum, the Abyssinian just bounds through life with incredibly low fear, constantly ready to explore whatever new thing comes their way. And this brilliantly illustrates that precise scientific rank ordering. It visibly confirms that genetics play a massive role in a breed's baseline fear and human-directed aggression.
You can see the Russian blue and the average domestic house cat clustering way up at the extreme high end of the fearfulness scale. Meanwhile, breeds like the Burmese and Abyssinian pull far, far to the negative, less fearful side. It's just a stunning confirmation of how distinct breed identities dictate baseline behavioral responses. Highest human aggression, Turkish Fawn, versus lowest human aggression, American Curl. The crucial point here is that breed traits vary wildly across the board. Take human aggression, for example, which, by the way, in this context really just means touch sensitivity, like scratching when being brushed or squirming to escape when held. The Turkish Fawn showed the absolute highest levels. Contrast that with the American Curl, which scored the lowest, proving to be incredibly tolerant and gentle during human handling. Now, what's really interesting about this visual is how it maps out sociability and activity. It proves that breeds like the Siamese and Balinese are exceptionally human-oriented. I mean, these are the cats seeking constant physical contact, purring in your lap, and constantly talking to you. Meanwhile, the Persian and exotic breeds score incredibly low on those exact same human-directed sociability metrics. They very much prefer their own space. Highest activity, Bengal, versus lowest activity, Persian and exotic. The contrasts just keep going, right into activity and playfulness. The data confirms that Bengal is highly active. Honestly, they're practically engineered for high energy. They're quick to stalk moving objects, they get those sudden bursts of running, and they love climbing to elevated places. But then you've got the Persian breed, completely true to its reputation, anchoring the absolute bottom of the activity scale. They are perfectly content with a calm, quiet, low-energy lifestyle. Let's move on and see how this builds our understanding of stress-related behaviors. These final two traits are absolutely crucial because they aren't just quirky habits, they are major indicators of how well a cat handles environmental stress. The Norwegian forest cat showed the highest propensity for litter box issues, things like developing substrate preferences or refusing to use a shared box. Meanwhile, the highly social Siamese and Balinese scored highest for excessive grooming. This can involve sudden frantic licking or even self-mutilation when they're feeling anxious or stressed. Why cat personality matters. So, translating all this complex data into plain English, we really have to ask, why does identifying these 7 traits actually matter for the average cat owner? I mean, sure, it's fascinating to map out breed behavior, but the ultimate goal of this research isn't just cataloging data on a spreadsheet. It's about taking this scientific framework and applying it to the real cats living right there in our homes. Knowing the personality type of a cat can be used to enhance its welfare. For example, fearful cats may benefit from additional hiding places. The takeaway here is huge. By accurately identifying your cat's unique behavioral profile, you can drastically improve their quality of life. If you know you've got a highly active Bengal, you absolutely need to provide vertical spaces and interactive play so they don't get destructively bored. Or if you have a highly fearful Russian blue or just a nervous mixed breed house cat, giving them extra hiding spots and keeping a peaceful home isn't just a nice thing to do. It's a fundamental welfare requirement. Our findings indicate that owner-completed questionnaires are valid sources of behavior data. What I love about this is how it scientifically validates the incredible bond between us and our pets. The researchers found fantastic test-retest reliability. That basically means when owners evaluate their cats multiple times, they provide remarkably consistent, accurate observational data. You aren't just making emotional guesses. The science literally proves it. You truly do know your real cat best.
Which of the 7 traits defines your own real cat? Now that we've unlocked this scientific matrix of the feline mind, I want you to mentally score your own pet. Are you dealing with super high human sociability but low activity? Or perhaps high fearfulness coupled with some litter box issues? Understanding the 7-trait framework gives you the power to actually see the world through your cat's eyes. So take a look at the real cat sitting next to you right now. Which of these specific traits is truly ruling your household today?